Good morning and welcome. For those who don't know me, my name is Cassandra Jesse. I am the Director of YouthPower Learning. I represent both Making Sense International and the International Center for Research on Women. And wow, I can't believe this is the fourth time I have been up here. I'm emceeing this event and hosting this event. Sort of as Mike said, this is one of my favorite events of the year. I hope with seeing the size of this room and seeing how we grow each year in size, that this is also one of your favorite events. I want to thank my team at my team in YouthPower Learning and for USAID for their support in making this event happen. And we want to express our gratitude to the National Housing Center for opening this beautiful space to us. We want to thank each of you as well for your role as champions for young people around the world, and for joining us here today. I hope that today's discussion is inspiring and continues to have long-lasting influence on how we approach positive youth development. So I trust everybody has found some breakfast. If you didn't, it's in the atrium. If you needed coffee like I did this morning, it's in the back of the room. The spaghetti and the marshmallows on your table is not breakfast, and I promise you it is not lunch. Don't eat it. I hope you saw some of the great resources out there. For those of you that brought resources, there's a couple of tables both right outside the door and as you approach the bathrooms. So that's where the bathrooms are, is on the side. So please put them out. Please share them. Agendas. They are in your folders. I thought it might be a little boring to repeat it up here. We're looking for a fun day. That's sort of the bottom line, a lot of learning. We've heard some opening remarks. In just a few moments, we're going to have a panel of young changemakers and a discussion with them about the impact of youth engagement. We'll have some breaks throughout the day, some chances to network. But after the morning break, we'll actually work with USAID on the journey to self-reliance. We'll have some activities to keep us going, and then we're actually going to do a series of lightning talks. So we'll have some lightning talks before lunch, and then again after lunch to really hear about some of the innovations and progress that people are making. We're going to sort of continue the journey, and I'm excited. We'll be launching a learning agenda for positive youth development, so stay tuned for that. Recognizing USAID is really thinking about how its investments can be scaled. We'll be having a particular session around scaling. We'll have some discussions and roundtables and posters, so lots of things going on, and then we'll be thinking ahead with USAID. So we have a full agenda, but we hope with enough variability that will keep your interest and will keep you excited, and there'll be a lot to learn. Wi-Fi on the sides. If you need anything from any of us, look for the red tag, and there's some green tags for volunteers. These are some of our youth volunteers, and they are obviously looking for opportunities to be able to connect and be able to engage with each of you today. So please also connect with them. So without further ado, I'd like to have Nalima Raut come up. She is an Atlas Core Fellow with us at Making Sense International, and she will be moderating this next panel, who I'd also like to ask the panelists to come up. The panel will be focused on the impact of youth engagement. Now, Nalima is an amazing young changemaker herself. She's from Nepal, and announcing her as an amazing changemaker might sound like it's just me saying that, but you don't have to just take my word for it. The Voice of Women magazine in Nepal gave Nalima the VOW Top 10 College Women Award, and the World of Women magazine featured Nalima as one of the women to watch in 2014. So please welcome our first panel.
Thank you, Cassandra, for the beautiful introduction. It is such a pleasure to facilitate this amazing youth speaker panel with such an amazing background and their amazing work, accomplished work in their respective fields. When we are talking about youth engagement in positive youth development. We're not only talking about youth, but also talking about their families and communities as well. Positive youth development does not come only from just a youth engagement, but when we are providing young people an enabling environment, when we are providing young people opportunity to build assets, or when we provide agency to young people for their impactful youth engagement, then it becomes the impactful youth engagement, and we can bring the positive youth development. In our panel today, all of the youth speakers represent all the aspects of positive youth development. So let me introduce our first speaker, Lupai Samuel Stephen. He's currently a YALI Fellow. He's working in South Sudan, a South Sudanese radio personality, and having more than 5,000 followers, youth followers on social media. He was a refugee, and he used his experience and knowledge to create platform to improve relationship between South Sudanese refugees in Uganda and host communities. Lupai, would you like to tell us about how your work is involving youth for peace building and how you're able to coordinate in between two communities?
Well, thank you so much, Nilima. Growing as a refugee in Uganda is always not easy, and when you look at young people who have a lot of potential, having their future being shattered just because of crisis in their own families, breaks my own heart, although I'm also one of them. But I got a chance to work on radio, and I realized that I can use the platform I have as a radio presenter to try and educate the young people that they can do something on their own. So I started the I Am Peace project. We started as a radio talk show to try and educate young people on how they can peacefully coexist among themselves as refugees, and also between the refugees and the host communities, based on the numerous conflicts that arose during the crisis in South Sudan, and also in the refugee camps because of the divisions they do have. So this platform has given very many young people to get courage, and most of them, because they have already seen one of their own refugees stand up in a country that they call a foreign land, but still try to do something for them. They feel that courage, and they got inspired to try also and do something positive in their communities. So the IMP's project has given them a platform to exercise some of their rights. Some of them also have, because we have arts and music and talent shows, so some of them get a platform to do something instead of just waking up in the morning and then staying the whole day and then sleeping and waking up again, because that's the life in the refugee camps. There's nothing else you can do. But then the IMP's project has given them that platform to easily coexist and do activities which, try to interact some of the youth. So it's been so positive, and I realized many of them get inspired and every day come up with new initiatives because of the inspiration of some of the refugees in the IMP's team who have tried to do something.
Thank you so much, Lupai. We always have choice in our bad situation, or when we are weaker in situation, we always have choice to do good things, and we always have choice to do nothing. And I'm really thankful to Lupai that he chose to do something for the refugee community. So let me introduce our next speaker, representing diverse citizenship identity. I should say she has 3 passports. She has a Fiji passport, a Nigerian passport, and UK passport as well. Daniel Alakiza, a poet and an activist, also an Olympian, a filmmaker, a writer, Global Goals Ambassador for the project Everyone and the Gates Foundation. Before I miss anything on your introduction, would you like to tell us more about you and how you're working with young people and migration?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me here today. As Nilima said, I have got 3 passports, which generally just means I'm a little bit confused. But a lot of my work is centered around identity and citizenship politics, and also migration. So what we do, I run an organization called Sick House, which is a creative agency, and what we do is we focus on telling stories of disadvantaged people in the way that they want them told. So we're trying to remove the element of walking in with a camera, filming someone's life, taking it back and distributing it on mass media. we found it's often much, much more effective to hand over the microphone, so to speak. So what I always tell people in little pitch things is if you give someone back their voice, you give them back their power, and you give them back the ability to shape their future the way they want. And we live in a increasingly digital age. So with social media, we have social media profiles. We have everything about you seems to end up on the internet nowadays, good, bad, ugly. And you don't know how that's going to affect someone's life in 20 or 30 years' time. So you may think you're helping, or you may think that this is a remarkable thing you're doing and highlighting the situation. But if you don't ask and you don't turn to that person and say, by the way, what would you like to tell the world about yourself and about what you've been through, then you'll never know. So that is me in a little bit of a nutshell.
Thank you, Daniel. Our next speaker, Yasmin Diawara, she's also a current YALI Fellow, and is a project manager with Social Change Factory, and is passionate about education and child youth development. She has launched English for Everyone initiative in her community and has reached more than 600 children, mobilizing young volunteers by herself. Being a youth change maker, what motivates you to work with child and youth, and why you chose education?
Thank you, Nilima. Hi, everyone. So I would say that two things motivate me. First of all, let me describe a picture of what I do. So I'm a project manager with an NGO that develops programs for youth and kids around education and citizenship engagement. And besides that, as she said, I launched this initiative by giving free English classes to kids in public primary schools. So the things that motivate me, I'll say the kids to whom I deliver these classes, because I remember these days when I finish class and I have this chalk powder on my hand going back home, and I was so happy of the experience that I lived with them because of their enthusiasm and how talented you realize each day that the kids are. And on the second hand, I'll say the volunteers I work with, they have been amazing. To find volunteers, I just posted on my Facebook account that I needed people to help me with this project, and 15 of incredible young people came to me, and we started doing it. And yeah, they realized that they love it. They didn't have this experience of teaching any kids, but we learned together, and we had support from also teachers trying to teach them how to handle these classes with the kids. And yeah, it's an amazing experience, and this is such a great motivation. Yeah.
I'm sure it is. In spite of her full job at the Social Change Factory, she started this initiative and has been able to reach the children in her community. It's an amazing work. So our next speaker, Jonaba Israel, I'm going to call him Israel because when he went to school and registered his name, somehow his school registered his last name as first name. So his first real name is Israel. So Israel is a young change maker himself and is mentoring and coaching other 25 young change makers in his country, Chad. Israel, could you tell us what helped you to become a young change maker and how you decided to mentor or guide other change makers in your community?
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's essentially my personal mission. When I finished my college degree, I try to think more about why I'm living on this earth. So I try to understand deeply why and how everything is working. I'm always asked questions. Why is bad? Why is good? Why they are rich? Why they are poor? And this question helped me to discover what I can do intentionally for others. So I discovered my mission. My mission is to impact positively the life of people and organizations via thinking and building a sustainable organization. I'm an economics by training, and I'm working in entrepreneurship ecosystem. So I try to coach startups, young changemakers, and that's why I finished my degree in Senegal, and I go back in Chad, because Chad is one of the countries that it's very, very complicated right now, many issues, and I say I will be part of solution, because it's easy to criticize. It's easy to say government doesn't do that, people doesn't do that, but what I'm doing, so that's why I start ABCD. ABCD means anybody can dream. So ABCD Changemaker, or acting and building the Chadian dreams. So we are start 2 years ago now, and we are making a lot of things. So basically, what motivates me, it's to reply this question, why? Why not? Why not me? Why not now? Thank you.
Thank you, Israel. Obviously, ABCD is an important approach to positive youth development. As we learned, anybody can dream. So coming back to Lupai, as per your experience with youth in peace building, what is your idea for donors or funders or who are investing in youth organizations, how they can build the capacity of youth organizations for the meaningful youth engagement?
All right. Well, there are a lot of young people doing a lot of incredible work, and most of the times they don't get recognized in one way or the other. And we realize that many organizations, both national in some of the countries in Africa and international organizations, already have their skilled labor that they go on ground and start implementing their activities, living out these young people who have come up with these initiatives to try and impact their communities. So one thing I'll tell to the implementing partners and organizations and funders is that it is better nowadays to fund directly to grassroots because by the time your project gets done, or maybe your activities get done in that territory, at least you leave something that is standing, and the young people can continue that legacy that you want to build in that community. So to international partners and funders, it is time for you to direct your funding and your support directly to the young people who are doing incredible work in their communities. I know there's a big challenge trying to identify who is doing what, and how trustworthy are these organizations. How can I trust them with what I am trying to give them so that they can do? But I think throughout, most of them have a lot of regional offices, and you realize that they can use their regional offices to map out these youth groups and create a network for them to try and implement their activities directly. And you realize that when you do that, the impact is felt directly to the communities. I can give an example of what's happening in the refugee areas where we do our operations in Jumani, northern Uganda. Many organizations have come with really skilled labor, and they have the capacity to negotiate and mediate in case of conflicts. But you realize that because they don't speak the language, because the people in the community don't relate directly to them, it becomes very hard for them to give the message the way they want it, and they end up using other local organizations. Now that's how IMP sometimes partners with them. So the advice is they should work directly with the grassroots youth organizations.
Obviously, we also need to provide platform for young people to enable them to build the assets. So my next question is to Yasmin. How has providing platform for youth been effective to generate ideas for solutions or implement those ideas in the local communities, and how your program has ensured the representation of youth from various communities?
Okay, so now I'll talk about my experience with Social Change Factory, the NGO I work with. So the main project that we had with Social Change Factory is a competition among students in universities where we ask them to bring solutions to problems, to social problems. So for the selection process, to answer to how we've been able to gather young people from diverse backgrounds. So because I grew up in a remote town far from the capital city, I know the difference in terms of, how do we call it, opportunities, like the lack of opportunities that the young people from the remote town suffer. So running this project, I took it as an opportunity to try to solve it. So we have done the selection in some schools in the remote town within the country. So this has enabled us to have many students from these towns in the country that do not have this platform to show how they can, how talented they are and how their voice counts also. So, and the crazy thing about it is that the winner of the competition that we did, the team winner was from one of these towns that is like 600 kilometers from the capital. And they have been able to come out with a solution to help a woman or cooperative in the town. And so the solution was about helping these women that were working on peanuts, agriculture, peanuts, peanuts ground, sorry for my English, and find a solution to transform it in order to make better and be able to sell it in a bigger market. So they came out with this solution, and it was the news in the town during weeks. So that's how we've been able to make it, and it's a very big success we're proud of.
So investing in young people, investing in the right organization and providing a platform for young people to put their voice is equally important. I'm going to ask this question to Israel, how you have been working with Young Changemakers and how you are promoting youth engagement to contribute to the overall sustainable goals that we have decided to work in the community.
So our approach is very easy and pragmatic, because I realize that when I come home, all of the change maker, it's the problem of mindset. So I say I will start to work with them to change the mindset before to go to the practical project. So we are create online platform on Facebook. I go to some radio station to have like just public speaking to help them to change the mindset. And we see that many of them try to follow us, to call us, and okay, I write a project and I go to see UNICEF. I say, help us to organize a boot camp. During the boot camps, we ask questions to young people in my city, capital city in N'Djamena. I say, identify one social problem in your district and come during this boot camp with the solution. And during the boot camp, we try to help them to know some tools about leading change. So we share with them quickly and basically how to build an action plan, how to mobilize, fund and team. And the boot camp starts in the morning until the evening. At 5, we organize a competition and we select 15 between them. They are 100 and we select 15 best idea. And I don't want to say loser, but the guys who are not selected, we try to build a team around the guys who are selected. And let's go. In 8 months, we see a phenomenal result. They plant trees, they try to organize informal school, teaching children who is not going to school. They try to help other young as them to going and doing depistage. I don't know, depistage, know their serology. And all that, it's incredible. One of them, he's working about defecation. So I can see how they make a phenomenal impact. So this is our step. It's very easy and practical. Thank you.
So when we are working with young people, we cannot prepare a meeting. And like, for example, if you're preparing a meeting inside the hall for a whole entire day, the young people might not enjoy the entire one-way communication. So when we're talking about young people, we should also talk about arts and sports, which is mainly associated with youth. So Daniel, how do you see the role of sports and arts to solve the social issues, especially in migration, since you're working in the sector of migration?
Thank you. So roughly 65 to 70% of the population in Nigeria is under the age of 30. So that is well over 100 million people. And I think despite our parents' best efforts, we're not all going into STEM. We're not all going to be doctors and lawyers and engineers. I turned out as a sportswoman. I'm an Olympic athlete. And sports has the very unique ability to completely level the playing field. So once you step onto the field, once you step onto the track, once you're in that arena, it doesn't matter where you came from, and it doesn't matter who you are. All that matters really is the work that you've put in and what you do on that day. And sports is incredible in that. It's also incredible in its ability to lift people out of situations that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get out of on their own. So I always tell people that I have two incredible parents that, fostered my talent and supported my development through all these stages. But I tell people that I was lucky, and that yes, I was good. But, good isn't always enough to get you there. And I think, especially when you're working with people that are, incredibly disadvantaged, that have just been handed circumstances that are quite upsetting, if you give them the ability to work, to train, and to identify a talent that otherwise might be ignored, we've all heard stories of, footballers that are now living in mansions and earning absolutely ridiculous quantities of money. And the incredible thing for me is to always see that when you have someone that's been lifted out of a situation like that, they almost always tend to go back home, and they tend to go back to a community, and they try and lift everyone else up with them. So if you start to give people a chance to do that, and it's the same with arts as well, with social media and with the digital age, and we live in now a content-based society, and there's so much that can be done with marketing, with pushing forward agendas that normally were stuck in traditional avenues, that now everything's on Instagram. I always tell my parents, if it's not on Instagram, then I don't believe it happened. And you tend to focus more on science and arts, and we do need STEM programs, and especially for young women. But it's just two halves of the same brain. And so you're fostering one aptitude or you foster the other. And it's that thing, you can't teach a fish to climb a tree. It doesn't mean it's not an incredible animal. It just means it's good at doing something else.
Thank you, Daniel. Since we are almost at the end of the time, for the youth program implementers who are present in this room, if you had to give one key message for the positive youth engagement in 30 seconds, what would it be?
Invest in the young people and always believe in them, no matter where they come from, no matter the kind of circumstances they are in. The young people always have incredible and innovative ideas. To all of you who are here and might have a little doubt in young people, it is time for you to believe in them, because the future is now, it's not tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Lupai, for making it really 30 seconds. Yasmin, would you like to go?
Thank you. So I'll say give credit to the young people with whom you work with, and it gives a sense of belonging, like my ideas are being accepted. So yeah, it means my words count. So it gives a sense of belonging in the project that you'll be working on, and yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Daniel?
There we go. So I would say that probably recognize when it's time to let go of the bicycle. And I think youth programs are incredible, but at a certain point, it's fantastic to just hand over to the young people. You know, there's an incredible capacity for problem solving now with youth, and we're in an age where resources are more and more accessible due to the internet. And so all you really need sometimes is a push from someone more established, just like Yasmin said, is, you know, you need that little bit of validation, and then you can take off running, to use, you know, my own sport as an analogy, and you can take off running towards a future that could be absolutely incredible. So.
Thank you. And Israel?
I'm a last one. It's essentially to implique them when you design the program or the project for them. It's allowed you to understand the true need, and also to help them. You know, by my short experience, I can see how just a little money can help to bring change. We give them like just $20 by month, but they make incredible things. So bring more fun also. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the speakers, and I'm sure the discussion today with all these youth speakers will be a background for when you're attending other sessions as well. If you would like to know more about our youth speakers or would like to have a discussion with them, you can meet them at the round table during the lunch. They are hosting the round table as well. Thank you for everyone, and thank you for your kind attention and participation.
Wow, fantastic. If you give them back their voice,